Hi. I hate being called a funny man because it sets like this bar that I'm just not going to be able to reach. When I wasn't like planning on being funny, so now like I'm trying to think of jokes and I really don't have any. Like I let writers write really great jokes and then I sort of say those words. Thank you, wife. My wife thinks I'm funny. That's like a good cue. All right, I'm going to go over on time probably, and I'll try to be more interesting than I'm being right now. But I'd just like to start by saying my company, Katalyst, we're storytellers. That's what we do. It doesn't matter the medium, whether it's television or whether it's film, whatever it is, we're storytellers. And we figure out how to tell the best stories on those mediums. And that's very different than advertising or marketing in some respects. Online, this is a digital, I'm doing a digital rant, it tells me. But in digital, I can't stand advertisement. Like, I actually am repulsed by it. I've never intentionally clicked on a banner ad. Never, not once, ever. I've accidentally clicked on banner ads and then been like, God damn it, how do I get back to the thing? And I'm like clicking back, going back, trying to get back, and I can never get back, and it's a bit of a nightmare for me. And then finally I get back, and I'm like, okay, I can go back to like being entertained, which is what I want to do. I want that medium or that utility to entertain me. And when I watch YouTube and that thing, and then they make that little X, so like smaller and smaller, so you can't get your mouse on it, and you're trying to get it down. It's a pain. Like, that is my experience with advertising on the web. And some people, some marketers break that mold. And they actually become the entertainment. They become the utility that I want to use. They become that which I am interested in. And most of the time it's because they're either featuring their product really well and the capabilities of their product really well, or they're telling a great entertaining story. So I thought, I can kind of go on about this, and I don't know how much credibility I would be given to go on about all this, or I could just tell a story. So I wanted to tell a story about one of the guys who I think was the greatest, one of the greatest marketers in the world. How many here know about a guy by the name of Carl Fischer? Okay, so after I finish this, anybody who doesn't know, you're probably going to ask yourself, like, how do I not know about that guy? And that's sort of the essential element to the story. So Carl Fischer when he was a young boy, he had really, really bad eyesight. He really couldn't see very well, and he would do awful in school. And so the teacher sent him to the back of the class because he was like acting up in the front row. And that just made it worse because now he couldn't really see the blackboard. He couldn't really see the teacher. And so eventually he dropped out of school. He was like 12, 13 years old. And he got a job on a train. And this is back like 1910, 1915, something like this. He got a job on a train, and he was the candy boy. And he would sell candy on the train to businessmen that were going from here to there, and it was a commuter train. And he walked down with his candy box, and he had his smock, and he had a T-shirt underneath with a naked lady on it. And he walked by these businessmen, and he'd lift up the smock and walk by the guy, and the guy would, hey, kid, come back here. What was that? What was that? And he would go back, and he'd say, what was what? And they're like, what was that on your shirt? And he's like, buy some candy and I'll tell you. And so they would. And so Carl made a lot of money doing this because he knew how to market his product with something that these guys wanted. I'm not saying put a naked lady on the front of an advertising box, but what I am saying is, like, he knew how to lead with that level of entertainment and storytelling. So he made a lot of money, and he was really into going fast. He couldn't see, but he really wanted to go fast through life. And he loved bikes. And he was in Europe, bikes were starting to catch on, but they weren't so much catching on in the United States. And so he decided he's going to open a bike store, which it was crazy. Like, we barely had roads, and this guy's opening a bike store. And so he opens this bike store, and nobody's buying the bikes. And he's like, all right, I got to figure out something to get people to buy the bikes. And so he found one guy. And this guy was amazing on the bike. Like, he could do tricks and all kinds of things. And so he put like on a tightrope from like one building on the street to the other building on the street, and he got a guy to go up on the bike on the tightrope and go back and forth and back and forth. And people would come around, and they would go, wow, that's incredible. And people would gather around to see that, and he would say, oh, do you want to buy a bike? Like, you could have a bike and be just like this guy. And what he did is he figured out a way to make his product entertaining. And people came. And he sold a lot of bikes. And he made a lot of money selling bikes. And then he got into cars. Because cars was the next thing. There were barely roads at the time, mind you. He got into cars, and he said, you know, someday people are going to want to drive these cars at night. And so he invented the headlight. And he put this headlight on the car, and sure enough, people wanted, he created a great product that people wanted. He solved the problem, put it on this car, and sure enough, people were interested in it. And so he decided he's going to start selling cars and the headlight, and he sold the headlight to a company, and now he's going to open this car sales store. And people are buying other cars and not his car. He's like, I got to do something. So he attaches this car to a hot air balloon, goes up, this is in Minneapolis, he goes up in the air over Minneapolis, he's flying around in this hot air balloon with the lights on the front of it, and people are like, oh my God, there's lights in the sky, this is it. And people started watching and paying attention and seeing what he was doing, and they started buying cars. But at the same time he was in the balloon, he saw this woman down below, and he said, we have to land this balloon. And he goes, and love's got him by the tail. He falls in love with this woman from up in this balloon looking down, and goes and meets her, marries the woman. And the woman's like, you know, you're a millionaire, you've sold all this stuff, you're so wealthy, like, why don't you just settle down and relax? And so he's like, yeah, okay, I just want to do this one thing. So he goes to Indianapolis and builds the Brickyard and says, you know what, people like driving these cars, people are going to want to watch these cars race around this track. And people are like, Carl, you're crazy. Nobody's going to watch cars go around in a circle around this track. And sure enough, they did. And he got people there, and 6 people died in the first race. And it was a bit of a debacle, but there was a huge press melee, and all these people started coming. And it is the Indianapolis Brickyard, and he created the Indy 500. And then the wife's like, okay, you're done now. Let's settle down. Well, we're going to go on vacation. I'm going to get you out of it. Takes him down to Florida. And at the time, Florida's, you know, mosquitoes and a bit of a nightmare. But there's a little bit of a vacation place, and it was this sort of unexplored territory to some degrees. And he's down there, and he sees this bridge going off into the distance. And he's like, man, what's going on with that bridge? And the wife's like, no, Carl, you're staying here. Do not go check out the bridge. And he's like, well, I just want to see where it's going. I don't want to. She's like, no, Carl, don't go. He's like, I just want to see where the bridge is going. So he goes and he meets the guy, and the guy's trying to build the biggest bridge in the world. He's trying to accomplish something people have never accomplished before. And Carl's like, well, where are you building that bridge to? And they take a little rowboat over. It's this sort of swampy ground. And he starts looking at it, and he's kind of looking around. And he gets down on his hands and he starts drawing this grid on the ground. And he looks up, and the grid that he's drawing is the grid that is Miami Beach. And so he goes and he buys up all this swampland, backfills it up with all this sand. He's like, this is going to be amazing, and everybody's going to come down here. They're going to love this. This is going to be incredible. And nobody comes. They build the bridge, and nobody comes. So he goes to some friends of his at the government, and he says, let's build a highway down here so people can get down here. Because that's why people aren't coming, because they can't get down here easily. So they build the highway, and nobody comes. And so in his true marketing fever, he gets elephants and ships in elephants, and he's got casinos and pretty girls and this, and nobody comes. And so he gets his friend, who's the president at the time, and the president comes down, and he kidnaps the president and does like a whole photo shoot with the president in Miami, and it's incredible. And people start to come. And it's the biggest land boom in American history. And people are setting up card tables in front of their house, selling this property on this property, because he knew how to market it. He knew how to create disruption. He knew how to create thrash. Well, Carl Fischer subsequently decided he was going to build Miami Beach to the north, and it was called Montauk. And then the stock market crashed, and he lost all his money. And he died in a trailer home outside of Miami, an alcoholic. But days before he died, a man took him up in a blimp over Miami so he could see what he had built. And to me, the way he marketed is the way that we need to market in social media. It has to be disruptive. It has to have thrash. It has to have polarity. It has to wake people up. And what wakes people up is great stories. And so my company, we've decided to build a thing called Thrash. And Thrash is going to be a social storytelling factory. We're going to go around the world, just like Carl Fischer would have done. And we're going to find the best storytellers in the world, the best digital creators in the world. And we're going to teach them what we know about social media, what we know about that long tail conversation, what we know about the fact that when you have thrash and you have polarity and you have people, half the people are disagreeing with you and half the people are agreeing with you, and that's what creates conversation. And when you have a wave coming on this side and a wave coming on this side, the boat doesn't tip over. We're going to teach them about that, how to create and instigate those conversations, and how to tell brands stories with them and for them. So this is what we're launching. This is what we're doing, and we'd like to have partners in that, obviously. But I think that as it comes to social media, what Carl Fischer would have done is he would have done something. He would have launched a piece of media or an experience or something that people had never seen before. And I think Carl Fischer would have said, you know what? I've got a great product. I know I've got a great product. Let me tell the story of that great product. Let me tell you what's great and innovative and inspiring and how this product is going to make your life better in a really interesting way. And let me create that landmark moment that gets people to show up and hand it to the best storytellers in the world to tell that story for them. I hate advertising. I work around it at every corner. When I'm on TV, I'm fast-forwarding through them. When I'm on the web, I'm trying to avoid them, right? But if you're the storyteller, and if you're the entertainment, and you're the star of the show, and you've got a great storyteller telling your story for you, people will seek you out. And they might even pay $1 just to watch it. Thank you very much.